Bonjour, bonjour les petits boussons. Alors, welcome to the 35 things I am unlearning at the age of 35. Today's lesson number 3. And today I am unlearning that being good at something is reason enough to keep doing it. And the reason I say this is because I'm a bit sweaty and panting because I was just dancing with my mom. She's so fucking cute. She wanted to just like give me some love and support. She's so fucking cute. If you still have your mom or your parents, just go and spend some time with them. Tell them you love them. Just see, this is really the most precious thing ever. Genre vraiment. But anyways, I say this because a few weeks ago, I launched the playground. The playground is my new project. That is within another project, but this is a new mission that I am working on at the moment. I've had the idea in March and then started implementing straight in April. And originally it was supposed to be an online thing. Oh my god. I'm retracing it back for you as well. It was supposed to be an online 8 weeks program. I shared that idea with my coach back then, and then I was like, yeah, but I don't know, should I do it? Should I make it a retreat, an 8 week program? And then she loved the idea so much that she hyped me up, and I went into the format of the retreat. Because you know what? Because I thought, wait, the retreat is the easiest go to because online things, I've only done them during COVID. I had launched a program, a dance program for beginners, like abs. You know the level of beginners where you learn steps. For me, it was the level before that, where you actually learn how to walk before you can actually learn how to run. Because I felt back then that people were rushing too much into knowing all the steps and choreographies and stuff. And I was like, do you even listen to the music? Do you even know where your left is and your right is? Like, you'd be surprised. Yeah. So I really thought, okay, what would anyone who would just really be so scared of dancing and taking a class would need to sort of, get the confidence to actually step into a dance class? And I called it Dance Skills 101, something like this. And this was the only program I've launched. And then obviously during COVID, we had dance classes online. And it was dancing, right? So it wasn't something that was focused on coaching and dancing and spending time together and getting to know each other and everything. It was literally just come and sweat the fuck out with me and hear me scream through a screen. And it was great, but the online format for me, at least for dance classes, was like, I don't want to do this anymore because I miss the human connection. And so, anyways, I thought, okay, well, yeah, indeed, doing a retreat for the playground makes fucking sense, is the go-to, because this is where we're going to get the most out of people. We're going to feel each other's energies. And obviously, when I thought of it, like, I was like, bah oui, en fait, again, it makes sense. But then even when it makes sense, it felt like the logical thing because I knew how to hold retreats. I love organizing experiences. I did 4 weekenders. I did 1 big retreat, 7 iteration of my Ghana dance camp. I was doing monthly workshops of dance with food, with a moment to get to know each other, etc. So it was like long formats, and I love doing that. I love just thinking about the story, thinking about the transformation, thinking about where I'm gonna take my guests, bringing them from point A to point B, and like designing this whole journey of feelings, sensations, and just like spoiling people, because that's who I am. Even in my personality, I love spoiling my friends. I love taking care of people, basically. And so I became super good at it because there's always been a story. And for me, stories, again, matter because you want to bring someone into a world, someone into a universe. And again, I really, really loved doing that. And for me, it came to me super easy with time because I've done that for 7 fucking years. So when she said, why don't you do a retreat, a few days, you make it an extended weekender, you can do it at my place, because she also has a retreat center. And I was like, oh my god, is this a sign from God? I listened, but truth be told, I will always remember the call that we had. I think that she was way more excited than I am. It really felt like she was not necessarily convincing me, but deep down, even at the end of the call, I was like, I am not sure. And I remember being at my friend. Oh my God, all the details are coming back to me. But I remember being at my friend. And I was like, oh my God, I'm launching a retreat. And she was like, yeah, that's so fucking dope. And I was like, yeah. But you know what? It almost felt like this half split second where you're like, oh my God, am I really doing this? Not like, oh my God, am I really doing this? It was more like, oh my God, am I really doing this? You see the tone? You see the difference in the tone? And I should have listened to this, but anyways, I didn't. And so I started planning, I started doing the communication. And obviously, because the communication comes to me easier, comes to me good, and when I'm onto something, I become super hyper focused and I can do everything in the span of one day. And this is literally what happened. I built the whole fucking landing page in one evening at this friend's place, looking after her dog, and the fucking page was built. You know, the copy was there, the template was there, because I don't waste time in such things. Like, oh my God, I need to have the right font or the right images. I'm like, I don't care. It has to serve its purpose of communicating the fact that I'm hosting a retreat with all the information, and that's it. So the fact that it also came to me so fucking easy was just another confirmation of like, all right, I'm just on the right track. You know, I'm on the right path. And then I started communicating about it, and even not having the website live, but just saying, hey, I'm building the playground. Who's in? Obviously, with a bit more information. Already people were signing up. You know, I had already 15, 20 people who shared their emails with me. And so I was like, okay, we're on to something. And in the span of 2 weeks and a half of posting on social media, sharing, sending emails, I was like, damn, I already have 9 signups out of the 12. And this was the first time for me that I was creating an event, promoting, launching, and doing everything literally 2 months before the due dates. And I think that I saw this as a challenge, not only from a perspective of, okay, 2025 fucked me up, but I need to come back. I need to, you know, I felt it was a challenge, you know, not an arrogant or egotistic challenge where it's like, c'est bon, I got this, but more like, you know what, that could be a nice opportunity for me to go back to working, to go back to, I don't know, I feel alive, I feel excited. Let's just fucking do it, you know, even if we're scared because we haven't worked in a few months. It was already like 6 months without working. And, you know, just doing things that I was really feeling super excited about, aka being back on social media, launching my podcast, doing my video portrait series, you know, and building again, rebuilding that energy and that safety of my nervous system and shit, doing therapy and whatever. I was like, hey, c'est bon, en fait, like we have energy. Vas-y, c'est bon, let's go, you know? And so in the span of those 2.5 weeks, yes, I got those 9 signups out of 12. But what happened is that the big fat anxiety, you know, big fat anxiety, waking up between 3 and 5 in the morning every single day, literally spending my day thinking about the content, thinking and planning, you know. I never plan my content. Even when I started coming back on social media, I never plan shit. If I have something to say, I will say it, regardless of how it comes out of my body. But I never had this planning thing, like strategizing around my content pillars, or is this going to be a video, is this going to be a carousel, is this going to be this. It's just more like, all right, today I want to share this, I want to talk about this. Do I do it in a video? Where do I feel like I'm just going to feel most not comfortable, but more like, okay, let's just fucking take the camera, I have the spark, let's just go for it. And some days it was just like, well, I feel like writing today, so let's just do it. But when it came about sharing something that I truly also care about, which was, oh my God, this is my baby, I'm so excited, like a lot of anxiety. And at first I thought that it was more because I was coming back to work, I was using social media again, and just like those fears of being seen, being maybe misunderstood, having people be like, oh my God, but she's not doing dance anymore, like what the fuck is she doing? Because the playground wasn't dance related. There was movement, but there was no dance classes the way I used to teach them. I would still use movement because I love dancing and I love moving and everything, but The core focus was not that. I'm not gonna share more because I don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing. And then, and for funny thing is that I postponed it to October, and I was like, even now thinking about it, I'm like, do I still want to do this? So anyways, 2.5 weeks of anxiety, of stress, and wondering, okay, what's happening? Again, is it because I'm coming back to work, or is it because I don't want the format? And truth be told, I didn't want to do it under this format. I realized after 2.5 weeks of stress and not sleeping and not eating, and again, when I tell you it was obsession over content creation to the point where I wasn't even present anymore with my friends, but also with my mom. Like every time I would spend some time with a human being, I would just be so, I would listen, but then at some point I'd be like, wait, I need to go home because I'm left with 4 hours or like 3 hours to come up with a piece of content that's going to be relatable enough, that's going to resonate enough, that's going to be convincing enough for people to sign up and make me appear as someone who is structured, who is smart, who knows what they're talking about, who knows their ideal client and their audience and the transformation and all these kinds of things. I was like, oh my God, this is so much fucking pressure. And at the end of the day, after 2.5 weeks, I was like, I don't want to fucking do a retreat. And you know who asked me? My brother. We were just catching up. He's like, are you okay? I'm like, I think I'm just fucking stressed. He's like, why? I'm like, I'm not sure if I really want to be doing this retreat. So we end up talking. And at the end, almost at the end of the conversation, I resented myself. I was so angry with myself, and I started like almost crying because I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it, And I was really realized that I was doing it to, again, prove that I was back, that I was coming back, that 2025 didn't phase me, that I'm still in the game, that I have it, I still got it. Like basically bad reasons. You don't create, you don't build up, you don't move through life from this performing, proving, and pushing lens. Like this is something that I've done so much in my life that when 2025 hit, for me, these were the first few things that I had to unlayer and keep shedding, apparently, were this: the performing, the proving, the pushing, the overgiving, and sorry, all these kinds of things. And so I canceled it. And it made me, like, as soon as I said, I don't want to do it, the amount of relief I felt in my body, incredible. Like, when your body just relaxes from, oh putain, oh wow, I said, and it was more like, oh my God, I shared the truth. I told the truth. And it made me, sorry, realize how much we can hold in our bodies. This was the freakiest part. Not necessarily the fact that I said, I don't want to do it. Like I had zero problem saying it, sharing it via email, sharing it on social media, sharing it in one of my podcast episodes. I had zero shame, like vraiment zero fucking shame. But the thing that marked me the most was like, can you imagine? You kept this for 2.5 weeks in your body. 2.5 weeks is already too long. And I was very proud of myself because it didn't go all the way to 3 months, because there were events in the past. When I tell you I'm growing, there were events in the past where I honestly didn't want to do them anymore. But because, again, people signed up and, I don't know, a reputation, ego, just wanting to make sure that, I show up and everything, because that's also part of building a business, and from in hindsight, you just always tell yourself, well, I've learned, and I stayed in positions and in partnerships and in events that I created where I was like, I don't fucking want to do this. I'm that close to canceling everything. But again, when people book their flights to come to you, this is where I'm like, I cannot do this. So I shortened the time of realization. But again, what freaked me out the most is like, putain, can you imagine you hold on to so much in your life? I'm speaking of myself, but maybe this is something that you might relate to. But imagine how much we hold on into our lives just for what? For performance, for external validation, to prove something to whom and what for, That now I think 2025 slapped me indeed, but it is truly a choice and a decision that I took to never do that again in my entire life. To never do something just because I am good at it. Like, familiarity for me is not always the same as alignment. And, maybe I will do some retreats in the future, and maybe don't, and maybe not. But that was really a big lesson for me. And to be honest, the more I think of it, even yesterday, I was talking to God and I was like, I feel super lost. And at the same time, I feel like I'm not really lost because I see a thread since the beginning of this year of me coming back to expressing myself, to sharing, to just creating, creating for the sake of creating. And this podcast is creating for the sake of creating. I see a thread where I'm like, maybe that next chapter really is about using my voice and not so much using my body. And this is another podcast, this is another episode, but what I meant to say with this episode today is really being good at something is not always a reason enough to keep doing it. Because I truly believe that, you can pretty much, put yourself in a box this way. I think that this can be dangerous because do you really imagine yourself doing the same thing for the rest of your life? And I'm not saying this from, I have FOMO. Absolutely not. But more from, oh my God, I'm a human. I am here to live the experience of life. There are so many other things that I could be doing. I want to try. I want to experiment. I want to discover. I want to go on this adventure, And B, I don't know if I have a B, to be honest, but I think what I meant to say again is that it can become dangerous. It's just too big of a word, but you can really put yourself in a box. And I think that there's so much out there that you can still be doing and that you can still be enjoying. And even if I wanted to do, again, retreats or classes or physical formats, I know definitely that the way or like the how must change. The way I bring myself about creating those environments and interacting within those environments has to change, because I will never be able to hold and carry people the same way I used to do it with the capacity that I have at the moment. And maybe at the end of the day, it is a question of capacity, because truth be told, I am rebuilding this capacity and I don't have the same tolerance as I used to, that's for sure. And I'm not saying this because I'm like, oh my God, I need to put better boundaries or anything. No. I mean, yes, with people, because especially when you carry people's emotions, energies, feelings, like this is so fucking precious. You have to be careful. You have to be mindful. You have to be thoughtful. At least this is my personal experience. And this is where I think most of the, if not everybody who came to one of my experiences felt, is that there is care, there is love. And as I said at the beginning of the episode, this is who I am as a person, so I know this will never change. But I think that the way I do it, again, the way I bring it, the way I envision it, the way I hold it as well, has to be different. Donc voilà, a lesson of the day: familiarity is not the same as alignment. Rendez-vous demain. I'm gonna see you tomorrow for episode number 4.